cousins. Today, I have a real treat in store. As you know, a lot of my Dark Shadows family that I've had on this podcast are friends that I've known for years, some of them over 20 years. But today, I've got a newfound cousin for you. Andy Bonnell, also known as Acilius, also known as Acilius, has a Dark Shadows blog called Dark Shadows Commentary. And I'm going to meet up with him down at the back room at the Blue Whale. Come on, cousins, let's go. There it goes. All right, Andy. So welcome. And I'm very, very pleased to have you here. I haven't had the opportunity to talk to a whole lot of new Dark Shadows people for me before. Usually, everyone that I've had on, I've known for years and years. Over 20 years. I've been in this fandom, so this is a real treat.
Oh, good. Pleased to be here.
Now, you do the Dark Shadows commentary.
That's right.
How did that come about?
Well, I had, my wife and I had watched the show through during COVID, during the COVID lockdowns, because we had been going to plays just about every week. We live in a college town, and there's a very good theater department. So for $5 on a Friday night, you can go to a play, and there's somebody involved in the production who's ready for Broadway. It may not be the leading performers, it may not be the director, it may just be somebody in the carpentry shop, but still, you will see something that would be not out of place on Broadway. And for $5, you can't beat that. Well, so we were really used to live theater on a regular basis. And so when the COVID shutdowns came, we thought, well, what in the world can we do? Because we were going into withdrawal. And I thought, well, here's a streaming service that has Dark Shadows. And I had seen the show, off and on over the years. And I thought, well, it's a lot like live theater because they did it live to tape. And of course, they were New York theater people. And so, well, let's start watching that. And we started watching it. And of course, you get hooked on it because it's designed to get you hooked. We wound up watching the whole thing through. And when this year came along, I saw, okay, it's the calendar is the same for 2023, or when not this year, when 2023 came along. And so the calendar was the same in terms of days of the week and dates as for 1966. So, June 27th was a Monday. And I thought, well, wait a minute. That means that I could watch every episode of Dark Shadows on the 56th anniversary of its original broadcast, and it would be the same day of the week. Well, okay, I'll start doing that. Well, my wife didn't join in for a little while. And so what I was doing was something I did while we were watching it through back in 2020 and 2021, which was looking at the blogs, that various people maintain. And I had been commenting then, and, especially on Danny Horn's Dark Shadows every day, and there was quite a community of commenters there. And so then, okay, well, I'll do that. I'll comment, when I see something and I think about it. Well, all the blogs I was used to were either pretty, I wouldn't say dead, but a lot less active than they had been at the time, or they weren't being maintained or whatever. And so that wasn't very satisfying. So I could leave a comment anytime I wanted to on John and Christine Scolari's Dark Shadows Before I Die, but maybe John Scolari would then respond a month later. That wasn't the same. So I thought, well, if I'm going to write something substantial, I might as well keep up my own blog. And, if you write a few hundred words about something, it really sticks in your mind. So after I'd written a few posts, I was really remembering the preceding episodes. So, it was easy to build up a head of steam. And here I am. Now it's, that was, let's say, June 1966, which is to say June 2023. And now it's, what is it, May of 2026. which is to say May of 1970, and I'm still going strong. So, and I've got some commenters of my own who are encouraging me to keep it up. So, I guess you can blame them that I'm still at it, but of course, my wife did join in and start watching. We watch it every day now, and quite often I mention her on my blog because she comes up with all the best ideas, and which I include.
Awesome. Well, I love it. And what's interesting is I was not aware of your blog until I joined Blue Sky.
Uh,
Because those that kind of came up like Danny Horns or the Collinsport Historical Society, or there were a few others that would just come up if you type in like, Dark Shadows or, Dark Shadows blog or something. So it was those that just kind of automatically came up. And I saw that you're posting them on Blue Sky. I'm like, this is awesome. This is great. Those blogs that I love just reading every day, because for me it's very well written and very vividly written. I can see the episode as I'm reading the blog, and I know exactly what you're talking about, and I love it.
well, thanks very much. I mean, I try to do that.
Have there been any surprises while writing the blog and rewatching these episodes and be like, well, I didn't remember that, or that's worse than I remember, or
Oh yeah, yeah, there have been. I Let me mute myself for a second because I'm about to cough.
Mhm.
Okay. So I'm done coughing, I hope. Yeah, one thing, for example, right now it's May 1970, so we're in the parallel time, 1970 parallel time. And I didn't remember that segment at all. I remembered a couple of things about it. I mean, I remembered the scene with Lara Parker facing herself down in the, mausoleum, and a couple of highlights like that. But I had a very vague memory of it because we at that point in the show, we really loved the 1897 segment, and so we started binge watching, you know, like a week in a day or 2 weeks in a day sometimes. Well, you don't remember anything if you watch that many. And so I just remember, I remember one or just a handful of highlights. And I remember sort of thinking it was good. Well, this time I know what was good about it. Which is that the acting is probably the segment of the show with the best acting, because some of the actors, when they joined the show, it took them a little while to catch on
Mhm.
to how to realize the characters they were being given under those conditions. But by that point, they all know that, and they know each other, and they're just having fun with it, and it's just great to watch. Excuse me. This cough coming back.
Mhm. Which
So,
which actor or actress has been kind of the biggest revelation to you in terms of acting that just, knocked your socks off?
well, in terms of this segment, in terms of the parallel time, I would say it's been Laura Parker, because when she joined the show at the end of 1967, she made all these self-deprecating remarks. Oh, my friend is getting to. Excuse me. I think my wife's getting home, which is how the dogs are going. She made a lot of self-deprecating remarks over the years, uh, claiming uh, claiming that she never knew how to act
Mhm.
until Noel and Fredo joined the cast, and that they gave her the first acting lessons they took. And I'm sure that's an exaggeration, but it's true that she did really improve, after that. And by
Mhm.
1970, she's just great.
Mhm.
And So that's a remarkable thing. Well, it looks like Mrs. Achilles is here. Uh, and so You get to see her. Let's see. So, hello, Brookie. Say hello.
Hello.
Okay. Okay. Yes. So that's been quite something because, the initial, when she was first on the show, she was so intense. And I guess she was uncertain as to what attitude to present.
Mhm.
So that kind of, I thought, oh, is she that good? She's terrific. I mean,
Mhm.
yeah, so that's been a big revelation too.
Yeah, and
Uh,
I think with the 1970 parallel time, Angelique, it's so different, really,
Mhm.
from what she had
Yeah.
played was kind of given a lot more to do, given more places to go with the character,
Yeah. Oh,
aspect
absolutely.
character. Yeah. And
She's able
twins.
to start. Yeah, and a twin. So she's able to start from scratch.
Mhm.
And it really is interesting because you can tell, uh, I mean, just how much she had invented specifically for, Angelique Prime, the Angelique of the main continuity, and when she's playing Alexis. Uh, so you can really see that she is playing a different person, and you can accept her as that. So, so that really was a great thing. Also, one of the things about 1970 parallel time, Angelique is so cruel to Maggie Collins. Well,
Mhm.
you can really see Laura Parker and Catherine Lee Scott are great friends at that point, and they're having fun playing make believe. I mean, yes, the characters are having this terrible crisis and everything, but there are times when you just see them relishing every minute of it,
Mhm.
and that does make it fun to watch.
And the majority of that storyline is basically Daphne du Maurier's Rebecca, you know.
Yeah,
So you've
yeah.
got that kind of guideline there, kind of like,
Mhm.
okay, essentially our characters. But with Dark Shadows, you get to do so much more, and it's so much kind of more
Yeah.
out.
So much more out there. And I
Mhm.
mean, Daphne du Maurier in particular, because, we had Daphne du Maurier, of course, you had Rebecca
Mhm.
uh, when Bill Malloy, when they were investigating the death of Bill Malloy, and Clarice Beckerin joined the cast, and they told her, play Mrs. Johnson as
Mhm.
Mrs. Danvers, out to avenge the death of Bill Malloy,
Mhm.
and which, of course, she didn't get to do because they decided to do something different. But, so Daphne du Maurier was there.
Mhm.
And then, of course, when Willie Loomis is going to, open the coffin and find the jewels that were
Mhm.
given by the pirate to the lady, well,
Mhm.
where does that come from? That's the story of Daphne du Maurier's Frenchman's Creek. Uh,
Mhm.
so at the beginning of the show, when it was a Gothic romance, well, of course, Daphne du Maurier, pioneer of the Gothic romance,
Mhm.
and now we circle back to the Gothic romance. We circle back to Daphne du Maurier, and it's the beginning of the show again. The show is starting over where it was in the summer of 1966.
Mhm. Yeah, that's the great thing about the show is it cycles through these different gothic themes. I mean, there's several times. We get Jane Eyre in different instances. Several times we get the Turn of the Screw. I mean, these various Dracula even. I mean,
Yeah,
these various gothic stories. They're
yeah,
continually recycled, but not in a way that really is like boring. You know,
no,
not the
yeah,
same over and over.
no, because they find different aspects of it. I mean,
Mhm.
did Dracula twice back to back, with Laura Collins the first time she was on, and then Barnabas Collins. Well, Barnabas is a vampire, so he's Dracula, yes.
Mhm.
But Laura, well, there's a lot of Dracula in there too.
Mhm.
I mean, really, the way that Vicky relates to all the men whom she's trying to form together into a group to fight Laura. I mean, she's Mina trying to fight against Dracula, and Dr. Guthrie, the
Mhm.
Dr. Van Helsing character, even tells Laura that she is the undead, uh,
Mhm.
and uses that phrase. So they have two Draculas back to back, and it doesn't feel repetitive
No.
because it's not the same part of Dracula,
Mhm.
uh, and that they use in either of them. And of
Now,
course, yeah, and you have two Draculas side by side also in parallel time with the Heat vampire Angelique and the vampire Barnabas.
that's very true.
Yeah,
True. Yeah. I was gonna say I love that part about in this timeline that you're watching now, the 1970 parallel time, that she is this energy vampire, and she's so cold, feeding off these hapless men, you know,
mhm,
stay alive. They're but yet she also has this life force uh,
mhm.
on, with Roxanne and all that on too. And so it's like, okay, that's really interesting too. That hasn't really been done before.
I know. Yeah. Yeah. They keep combining various elements. And because, when I started watching, the first time I really watched the show extensively was in the 90s when it was on the Sci Fi Channel, what was then called the Sci Fi Channel. And the first episode I saw was the one with Portia Fitzsimmons, the arts dealer from New York who comes and meets Sam Evans. And Portia Fitzsimmons calls on Sam Evans. I watched that scene. I was like, great. Okay, I got to watch this show. I got to see Portia Fitzsimmons. I mean, she's obviously the main appeal. And it was a few months before I was able to get back into it. And there was no Portia Fitzsimmons. And I was watching patiently and went, when is Portia Fitzsimmons coming back? And so I got online and found what was then, or what is now the Dark Shadows Wiki. I don't know if it was called that yet at the time, but anyway, I found it. And I discovered that Portia Fitzsimmons was only in that episode. In fact, only in that one scene. That was a rude awakening. But I also, read up on some of those episode summaries, which are pretty hard to read if you haven't seen the episode because they're very terse. And well, this show is very different from. It's changed a lot. So wait a minute, Roger Collins was the central character in the early what? And all this stuff. So that got me curious. But when I was watching it, I was thinking, okay, this was when Sarah, when I got back into it a few months later, uh, the ghost of Sarah was on a lot. And I thought, okay, well, I'll watch it until I can figure out what this little kid is doing, what this ghostly little kid is doing. And I mean, obviously, the makers of the soap opera know what they're doing. They know that their job is to get you hooked. And so if people are watching until they figure out what's going on with X, they'll make sure never to explain X. So of course they never do explain it. But I was I did get hooked on it and watched a good chunk of it then. So
Which storyline do you think was just the most absolute exciting in terms of writing and acting and just everything that was going on, that it was like if you had to tell someone, hey, if you're only going to watch one storyline of the show, watch this one?
well, I would say the 1897 is the best overall. First of all, it's got the best dialogue, because Violet Wells is there throughout the whole thing, and she's, and they're just the best team. And also the stories are the best. I mean, the ending, it peters out. So 1795 has the best ending, of all of them. But that one I would say is the supreme one. There is some unevenness in terms of the acting because there are some, actors who don't quite mesh together or whatever. But I think all in all, it's the best period of the show. And beyond that, I would say 1795 is very, very good. Especially the latter part where it becomes the tragedy of Joshua Collins. And Lewis Edmonds is this, Shakespearean figure by the end of it. Whom we, can see his faults leading to this, or it's his virtues that lead to his downfall. So that's pretty great. And 1970 Parallel Time has a lot of good stuff in it too, and it's fun. I mean, almost all the storylines work. There are some that, I mean, the Damian Edwards thing doesn't work, obviously, but that's only a few days, and there are some other things towards the end that don't work as well, maybe. But that's pretty good. And or really starting anywhere is a thing. One thing I thought of. I'm going to cough again. Give me a second here. Okay. One approach I thought of would be, okay, watch 2 episodes a day. Start on the first day, watch number 1 and number 701. The first episode overall, the first episode of 1897, and then just go forward with those. And by the time you sort of meet in the middle, you'll be getting a sense of it. I mean, I don't know if that would be a thing to do, but but it's a thing I thought of.
When I started watching, I first started watching on the Sci-Fi Channel, and
Um,
it was during the Haunting of Collinwood
yeah,
9 storyline with Quentin, the ghost of
yeah,
Quentin. And
yeah.
that, and I can remember the first episode I ever saw was one with Abe Vigoda. Uh,
Oh yeah,
the Bright
his
Bright
glasses.
Books, and yeah. And what is this? This is great. I have to find out what this is because I didn't know if it was a movie or a TV show or what the hell this was. But I was hooked from that point on, and that's where I started watching. So going forward from that point, I didn't know a lot of the stuff that had gone on before with 1795. I didn't know who Josette was. I didn't know who Vicky was because Vicky
Uh-huh.
was on by that point.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And so that was really interesting to kind of come in there, watch to the end, and then go back around and be like, oh, and some of those characters were so interesting to see, like with with Roger Collins and how
Mhm.
he was in those kind of beginning episodes, and he was very much kind of like set to be the villain and
Yeah.
everything. And just kind of like the different things that his character went through, where it was like, wow, he's had a huge uh kind of change with his character throughout the series. you
Oh
know
yeah.
that was really something.
Tremendous.
the,
Yeah.
the fact to find out, going back into the beginning, because I read things online and I heard things, and I
Mhm.
knew there was this governess named Victoria Winters, and I knew
Yeah.
it basically about her. And that was really interesting to kind of see where it shifted from Vicky to Barnabas,
Uh-huh.
kind of
Yeah.
watch that shift. That was really interesting how they did that, and
Yeah.
literally phased Vicky out, out into the
Yeah.
past, you know.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, and it's interesting that the Abe Vigoda, the Thing Glasses one was
Mhm.
the first one. Because, for me, Portia Fitzsimmons, I thought,
Mhm.
wow, this show is great. It's got Portia Fitzsimmons. And then you said, it's got, oh, let's see, Ezra Braithwaite, right? That was his name. Yeah, Ezra, that's got Ezra Braithwaite. I want to see more of it. Of course, they kill Ezra Braithwaite in that. So, well. But yeah. But I mean, those one-time characters can really add so much because so many of them are very, very good.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, another one I really enjoyed was Madam Finley.
Oh
Um,
yeah, she was great. Oh,
yeah.
I wish that they had done more with that actress. I mean, the character obviously that was all you could do with the character,
Mhm.
but it's so I wish they had managed to bring Kavada Humphrey back. Uh,
Mhm.
I mean, she looked enough like Jonathan Frid. She should have played the sister of Jonathan Frid. I mean, like a grown up version of Sarah.
They could have done something with that, maybe like in
Yeah,
a paradigm or something.
yeah, yeah.
Would have
Silver Sarah up, or when they went back to 1795. I mean, yeah, Sarah's a ghost in 1967, but does that mean she has to have been, or she's 9 years old as a ghost in
been.
1967? But does that mean she has to be 9 years old when she died? Maybe the reason she's a ghost in 1967 is that something terrible happened between her and Barnabas when she was 9. And they were never close again after that. And whatever it was. And but she did grow up. They were the same age, and she was played by Kavada Humphrey. And that could have been good. I mean, maybe if there's some parallel universe out there that we can get access to, that has a streaming service that you can subscribe to, maybe we can see that version of Dark Shadows.
Well, I mean, there's been talk for years about bringing the show back, maybe in some sort of continuation.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so much they could do with that in different, parallel bands of time. And, I mean, they could bring Count Patofi back in
Yeah.
some way. Because, I mean, I kept expecting him to come back, and they didn't
Oh,
really.
yeah.
Is he really dead? What happened?
I know. I mean, showing the glasses, having the proof of his death be his glasses,
Hmm.
okay, he would have a hard time getting around without his glasses, but I
Hmm.
have a hard time getting around without my glasses. And there have been, and just because I dropped them doesn't mean that I'm actually dead. Uh, I have dropped them before, and I've never actually been dead. So I'm pretty sure. So he could easily come back, and they didn't do it. Yeah, yeah, that'd be something.
He could have entered someone else's body like he did with Quentin, and he could be
Yeah.
in a younger body that doesn't need glasses.
That doesn't need glasses. There you go. Or maybe has a different prescription.
Maybe.
Yeah. And he wouldn't need those glasses. All we know is that he doesn't need those glasses.
True.
Yeah. I mean, Ezra Braithwaite was alive at that time. He could have entered his body and then escaped from it shortly before Quentin killed him in 1897, and in 1968, I guess it was, and moved on. Anyway, I don't know. Maybe that's not the best. Maybe that's not one of the good ideas.
Well, who knows? Maybe that was just a pit stop. Maybe he jumped from Ezra Braithwaite to somebody else.
To somebody else. Yeah, to somebody else. And we never hear again about Nora. What happens to Nora Collins?
That's
Uh,
right.
yeah, maybe she becomes the new Count Pitofi. Who knows?
Interesting.
If we can take over Jameson, why not take over Nora?
Very good point. Good point. If all of you fan fiction writers are paying attention, maybe they can do something with that.
Mhm. Yep.
Now, do you read any like Dark Shadows fan fiction, or did you get into the comic books or
Not
anything?
very much. Not very much. I look at it from time to time, but I've never gotten very deeply into any of it. So, I, because, my goal sort of with the blog is every time to pretend I've never seen the show before.
Mhm.
So sort of the first stage of writing the post is what would I see if I had never seen the show or heard of it before? Uh, and so I try to keep my mind, a blank in that way. And obviously, I don't stick with that. I mean, sometimes I then go back and get deeply into like previous episodes or into source material it's drawn from and other kinds of things like that. But I've never gotten really into the fan fiction. I know there's some very good fan fiction, uh,
Mhm.
but which some of which we've heard about on this podcast. But I've never gotten into it. Maybe when I finish this view through, maybe that's going to be my next stop. I don't know.
There's some great ones out there, and even the fanzines going back like to the 70s.
Yeah,
It's absolutely wonderful, and a lot of times they'll have those for sale at events.
mhm, yeah,
If you run into those,
yeah,
those read the old concordances.
yeah, yeah.
Marcy and Kathy, and I mean, all of these wonderful people worked on all of these wonderful projects for so many years. And one of the great kind of thrills is, coming in as like a younger fan,
Yeah.
it's just putting all of this stuff that was out before the internet, you
Yeah,
know, and it's like,
absolutely.
wow, it's amazing. I mean, this fandom has had a huge following really since it aired, and it's
Yeah,
never gone away, and a lot of
yeah,
people don't.
I know. For 56 years, got all
Mhm.
this material. Yeah. There's one thing because growing up as a kid in the 70s and 80s, I was aware that there had been something called Dark Shadows because people, older than me would mention it. And I would go to used bookstores or whatever, and there would be Barnabas, Quentin, and whatever proper noun, Dan Ross could think of. And all that stuff around. Thinking, that must have been a big deal. And now, of course, getting into it. Well, I've been into it for a little bit, for a few years.
Have you been to any of the conventions or fan
Never
events?
been to any of the conventions because, I got serious about it just in 2020.
Mm.
Uh, and so just as the conventions were kind of, I mean, of course, there were no conventions that year. There have been some since, but I haven't been to any of those since. So that I've never entered that world.
Well, it is a different world. I've been going since 2004 was
Uh-huh.
one. It's something else. It really is, and you go and you get to see, these actors in the flesh, and that itself is such a thrill, you know.
Yeah.
Only celebrities I've ever met in my life have been on Dark Shadows, that's my celebrity reference right there. It's just if they've been on Dark Shadows, I've seen them, but I mean, it's wonderful just to see the fans, interact with the actors, interact with each other, the tables that they have set up in the dealers' rooms with all kinds of merchandise and fan art and different projects. My friend Cindy makes the most beautiful Dark Shadows jewelry. She makes charms. I've got a Dark Shadows charm bracelet. It's really cool, and it's one of those fandoms that anyone can really get into and bring in whatever your talent or whatever your thing is, because
Mhm.
it really can lend itself to this fandom in so many ways. I was reading something, I can't remember what it was, and they had, I guess, talked to their aunt or their grandmother or something about Dark Shadows, and oh yeah, I used to watch it and blah blah blah, and started watching it with them, and then knitted an Afghan like the one on the show. It, I mean, that's really freaking cool.
That's tremendous. I know they had the Dark Shadows cookbook,
Mhm.
which, and of course, they gave the most disgusting possible names to the recipes.
Mhm.
But they all seem like reasonable things to cook, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
If just didn't call them by those names, they'd probably be fine. Uh,
Novel. But several years ago, Diana Malay, that played,
uh,
like, actually
yeah.
wrote I'd Rather Eat Than Act. And a lot
Mhm.
of the recipes in that cookbook have stories tied to, different Hollywood legends and actors. And it's
Yeah.
really interesting if you can get a hold of that. Uh,
Mhm.
read.
Yeah. Yeah, that does look like an interesting book. I mean, she seems to have been, a very interesting person too. I mean, of all the cast members whom I, wish I had met, I guess she's one of them, because she seems like the sort of person who would be extremely fun to talk to, since it seems like there was never any idea what she was going to say next. Uh,
And they went on trips with groups of fans. They
mhm.
went to Egypt. I think they went to Romania or Transylvania or something like that. They they went to these, locations, and she went with groups of fans, and they had a blast. I've seen, the pictures and heard the stories, and it's like, oh, I wish I could have gone because it just sounds like an absolutely amazing time.
Yes, it does sound tremendous. Yeah, that would be great. Ah, yeah, thinking about people who, I do run into people who of anybody who was conscious uh, between 1966 and 1971. They certainly heard of the show, and there's a good chance they watched it and were fans. So on occasion I mention it, and I'm surprised how many people say, "Oh yeah, I loved that show." And so no. So,
I mean, my own family, like, I didn't know my grandma, my aunt watched it, and then,
mhm.
like, you're going to a what convention? Dark Shadows. Collins, I used to watch that. You know,
Yeah.
so that was really cool. One of the coolest kind of experiences I ever had, though, with the Dark Shadows, is a very dear friend of mine who was a big Dark Shadows fan. That we'd go to conventions and everything for years. She had passed away from leukemia, and I was a psychic reading done, and one is the button lady at convention. She, you know, with, Colin Wood and different things on it, and one of her buttons in my pocket, and it had the picture of Seaview on it. And she used to go with us to Seaview. We'd go to the Seaview parties,
Mhm.
And now I didn't say anything to this psychic. And I walked in the door, and she goes, "Oh, you got a fun lady with you." And I'm seeing these parties. They're like family reunions or parties or something. And there's a big house by the ocean, and it looks like this house that was on a show called Dark Shadows, but you're too young to remember. And I said, "Do you mean this house?" And I pulled out the button, and she went, "That's the house." So that was a really cool moment.
That's a great moment. Yes, indeed. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Shadows is it's a great connector. I mean, you
I
can.
had a thing of connectors. I had a commenter on my blog tell a story.
Mhm.
He said that, reading the blog had gotten him, into the show a little more deeply. And he mentioned it at a family reunion with his brothers, whom he hadn't seen in years.
Mhm.
One of whom he had not spoken to in 11 years, and the other one he hadn't seen in 3 years. They'd spoken, they hadn't seen each other. And the one he'd spoken to but not seen for 3 years, he mentioned something. He said, "Now, when we were kids, you and I, we used to watch Dark Shadows together, right?" And that other brother said, "Oh yeah, I've started watching that again just recently." "Oh, you have?" And they started talking about it. And then the other brother, whom he had not spoken to for 11 years, came by and said, "Oh, Dark Shadows. Yeah, Maggie Evans. She was so hot." And they bonded over Catherine Lee Scott's hotness, after 11 years of broken ties. And I just hope she hears that story someday, how,
Oh,
how she managed to bring these guys back together after so long.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
What a lot of people don't know is Catherine Lee Scott has really helped me in a way with this podcast because I have horror stage fright. I'm
Mhm.
pretty shy, and
Yeah.
when I get in front of the camera like this, and I when I do my introductions in the beginning of the podcast and everything, I keep thinking about Catherine Lee Scott. Hi, I'm Catherine Lee Scott, and so I try to channel Catherine Lee Scott when I do that, and so I don't feel so nervous.
Well, I'll try that next time I feel stage fright. I'll stand and once the audience starts looking at me, say, "Hi, I'm Catherine Lee Scott." No, maybe I won't, but uh, maybe let's put on a wig or something to look like it.
She's awesome. I really hope that you get to meet her at some kind of
Oh yeah.
event, because she is just one of the most gracious, lovely people I have ever met. Always happy
Well,
to sign and take pictures, and just wonderful.
it certainly seems to be. Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm. They
I, yeah. Yeah.
are all
Yeah,
wonderful.
indeed.
Mhm.
Yeah,
And
of course,
mhm,
dynamic and surprising, for a show that was on 56 years ago. Uh, yes, it's true that many of the cast members were in their early 20s and all of them kind of were under pressure to keep physically fit and all that. But it's still remarkable how many of them are, still around and doing things. Uh,
mhm,
and, those people are well into their 80s and so on.
mhm. Oh
And I
yeah,
mean, Catherine Lee Scott just got married, within the last year. So I don't know, it seems to be some kind of eternal youth thing with that show.
maybe, I don't know. Jim Storm's still acting.
Oh,
He
yeah.
independent films and things.
Yeah.
Uh, who else? David Selby's still, got projects going,
Yeah.
and he
Yeah.
did you see the new short film that Ansel Faraj did with David Selby? It was
No, I
called,
didn't see it.
oh my gosh, it's wonderful, because I love old movies, I love silent films, I love classic horror. This is up my alley. If you like any of that, you will love what's it called? Screening After Midnight. And it's
Yeah.
wonderful. It's one of the best things I've seen in I don't know how many years. And I hope it goes on to win awards and everything, because it's phenomenal. And David Selby's wonderful in it.
I'm sure he is. I'm sure he is. He always was. He always has been. And yeah, I mean, that's one thing because you see these performers early in their careers, and sometimes, yes, they have things to learn. So when Christopher Pennock shows up, he needs to work on his line delivery.
Mhm.
Uh, but he was very good at other things. So from day one, he could look like he was strangling somebody, but not upstage her.
Mhm.
So his scene partner could look like she was being killed, but she's also got the camera full in her face and it looks great. Uh, and then he does get his line delivery. But Selby, he had everything from day one. And 27 years old and had it all.
Yeah. I think one of the biggest things about Dark Shadows is, finding this show has led me to so many other wonderful things. Like, I wouldn't have seen Crest if it wasn't for David Selby in Dark Shadows. And going, wow,
Right.
this fabulous actor. What else has he been in? And
Yeah.
that leads you down something. The appreciation for Joan Bennett's movies, which I
Oh, yeah.
don't care of, but it was
Yeah.
like, there's a Joan Bennett movie on TV. I want to watch this. And going,
Yeah.
it was a great movie. Maybe I wouldn't have watched it otherwise if I hadn't thought, because Joan Bennett was in it.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, she's terrific. And I mean, so many wonderful things that, just all of them lead you to. Uh, and yeah, absolutely true. And, sometimes I'll just notice, I mean, for example, uh, the other night, well, this wasn't the other night, it was a few months ago. Uh, I was trying to say, okay, something on TV. And there was some show from 1966 I'd never heard of called NYPD. I turn it on, and there's John Carlin as the guest star. That's fantastic. And the next week it comes on again, and there's Clarice Blackburn as the guest star. Well, it was made in New York, at ABC in 1966 to 68. So of course, every other episode has Dark Shadows cast members. We saw one the other night that had Michael Hodge, who played Buzz. He was in there, and he was really good.
Hmm.
Uh, I mean, Buzz was maybe not the high point of the the acting art. Maybe there may have been greater performances in the history of film than Buzz, but that was one of them. It was really good. He was only in it for like a minute and a half, but that was a really good minute and a half. So, and we would never have watched that show without Dark Shadows.
Yeah. And Buzz has his own following. I mean, I've run into a few, oh man, I love Buzz.
I do too. I do too, because Hodge does seem. I mean, his attitude does not fit with the show at all, and there's no intention for it to fit with the show at all, because he knows that he is. This is a mashup of Dark Shadows as whatever it is at that point meets Beach Blanket Bingo, and he's Eric Von Zipper, and he's just going to be Eric Von Zipper. So, when he says, "If you feel it, sit it,"
Mhm.
that, that's it. That's perfect. Uh,
Yeah. And it works so well for the character because you're going like, what the heck is this guy doing in Collinsport? And
yes,
what is Carolyn doing to him? And so it works.
it does work. It does work. And Joan Bennett being Joan Bennett as she was in all those movies, where in some movies she's this, when she was like 20, she's an irresponsible, wanton woman, but she still sounds like that and moves like that. I mean, she's a very proper, irresponsible, fallen woman. And she and Buzz in the same scene, that's wonderful. I mean, that's just great. More coughing coming. Yeah, so it's really surrealistic to see that combination of elements.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, one of the things that drove me crazy with the Tim Burton film was, that they took Dark Shadows and they tried to make it a comedy and it didn't even really
Yeah,
even. And there are so many wonderful comedic moments in
yeah,
the series that work, you know,
yeah,
either that are deliberately trying to be funny or maybe they're not trying to be funny and they just.
yes.
But it's like don't mess with a good thing. Don't ruin this wonderful formula that works.
I know, I know. I mean, I mean, for what it is, I think the Tim Burton movie is okay. Uh, I mean, it's not like, I mean, it's for what it is. It's a fun little way to spend a couple hours, an affectionate tribute to the show. Uh, there are a ton of things I wish they had done. I mean, it's nice to have that Easter egg with, uh, Jonathan Frid and Lara Parker and Catherine Lee Scott and David Selby in the background at the party. But couldn't they have worked in others? I mean, there were many, there were, every crowd scene, you could have just had a few people, somebody in the background. Uh, like when they even have torches and pitchforks at one point. Where do the torches come from? Maybe Diana Malay is the person lighting the torches for them. And they could walk past an antique shop and see Christopher Pennock and Marie Wallace working in there. And I mean, you can just think of anything that they could just have somebody in the background for 10 seconds whom the fans will recognize. And it could have been great. But one of the big problems with the movie, I thought, was that it was done in sort of this, I guess, what people think of as a professional manner. Everybody has the same sort of basic approach to acting. They're all on sort of the same page as to what acting is. And in the series, the people who are, there are some people who aren't very highly trained, but most of them are trained, but they're trained in completely different schools that don't go together at all and shouldn't work at all. So John Carlin and Jonathan Frid and Laura Parker and Joan Bennett. I mean, those four people, yeah, they were each very well trained, but trained in such totally different approaches, you wouldn't think it would work at all. But it does work. It works brilliantly because, they just sort of, you throw them together and you see what happens. And what happens is often something wonderful. And like Michael Hodges' Buzz, I mean, he must have been a pretty, I guess he was a pretty well trained actor. But what he was doing was totally different from what anybody else was doing. And that's the point. That's the point that, Buzz just doesn't belong there.
Mhm.
And if he becomes a regular member of the cast, the show will collapse. So it's not going to happen. But on the other hand, you kind of want it to happen because he's so much fun.
Mhm. What do you think are
God,
some of the most magical scenes in terms of chemistry? Because you talk about the different actors and the different What are some scenes for you that really stand out that just, so much chemistry and just wonderful?
I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is any scene with Jonathan Frid and Grayson Hall, because I mean they just click so perfectly.
Mhm.
And again, totally different approaches to acting. I mean, Grayson Hall, I mean, she kind of physically looks a little bit like Lovelady Powell, who played Portia Fitzsimmons, but she's the opposite extreme, where where Lovelady Powell, her entire performance was her left eyelid. I mean, that was the only part of her body that moved, and the entire scene. I don't know how she even got the lines out because I swear her mouth didn't move, but she did the whole thing with her left eyelid, and it was great. But Grayson Hall, every part of her instrument is going all the time. And Jonathan Frid, very classically trained, very much doesn't do that. But the two of them work together so well. And I mean, obviously, the scene where Julia lights her cigarette off the candelabra is, the sort of the first example that comes to mind with that. And so that's a big winner. And also anything with, I mean, John Carlin and anybody. I mean, he just was perfect with everybody. And so he only had one or two scenes. I think he only had one scene with uh, Sharon Smythe Lentz where Willie meets Sarah, and the two of them. I mean, he's so intense and so involved in everything he's doing. Both the character and the actor, and she's you know doing what she's supposed to do as best she can at the age of 10. And when you see the two of them come together in the same scene, you think, what in the world is going to happen here? Uh,
Mhm.
and what happens is just perfect. I mean, it's just wonderful. So that's a great scene. And I think of that. Uh, Also, all the scenes with Mitch Ryan and David Hennessy, uh,
Mhm.
because Ryan was such a like John Carlin, very much a hot actor. All of his feelings were on the surface. You could tell exactly what his character was thinking and was going to be doing and everything. And again, you think, oh, how's that going to interact with a child actor, even a highly skilled child actor like David Hennessy? And the two of them just mesh together perfectly.
Mhm.
I mean, the characters understand each other perfectly, and I'm sure the actors understood each other perfectly too. And so those scenes are magical. The one in Burke's hotel room when
Mhm.
David says, "I've got another contemplation," because he's telling his ideas, and Burke says, "Oh, so those are your contemplations, eh?" "Yeah, and I got another contemplation," and he keeps on going. That's a great scene, and the scene where the two of them sit on the stairs at Collinwood after they've caught David in a lie. Oh, that's a great one too.
David Hennessy, what a wonderful actor. You
Oh,
know,
and
I mean, I love in 1897 when he's possessed by Count Patolfi. You buy it, you know. I mean, he's very chilling, and it's like this is obviously not Jameson Collins anymore. Yeah, that was
no,
one.
it was wonderful. And even Jameson Collins, I mean, you can see he's a little boy who's going to grow up to be the head of the family, and that probably implies that he has the potential to become chilling, but not chilling in that particular way.
Mm,
So when he says of Edward, when he says of his father possessed by or under the impression he's a valet, he is a gem, isn't he? That's
mhm.
not Jameson at all. That's Petofi. Uh,
I love it.
oh yes, yes. And also the comic scenes between Grayson Hall and John Carlin.
Mhm.
Uh, I think the two funniest scenes in the whole series, intentionally funny, uh, when they think Barnabas has become a vampire again, after the return to 1796. And, Willie is, oh, right, he's going to be a vampire. Oh, the dogs will start making noise again. That's the bad part. The dogs will start making noise again. Uh, Willie, I think there are other things to worry about. And she's there with that. That's hilarious. Also, in 1840 or 1841, the end period, when Julia Collins is telling Kendrick to leave the house and leave the drawing room and leave the house, and
Mhm.
she goes out into the foyer and sees Melanie coming down the stairs, muttering, "Kill him, kill, 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 kill everyone, kill, kill." And she doesn't want him to see that, so she closes the doors to the drawing room and says, Perhaps you should stay a little bit longer. Uh, hilarious, hilarious line. Fell out of my chair. The two of them really brought out each other's comic instinct.
Mhm. Which kind of character pairing do you think really didn't work, that you couldn't get into it? Is
Well,
just
yeah, I mean, so many of the romance attempts at romance didn't work. uh, which, for a soap opera, that's really strange. I mean, occasionally they did. I mean, it's one thing about the 1970 parallel time is that right before it, you have Angelique cast the spell on Quentin and Maggie in the original continuity to make
Mhm.
them fall in love with each other. And you see David Selby and Catherine Lee Scott together, and of course they're in love with each other. Why wouldn't they be in love with each other? Who could resist falling in love with either of them?
Mhm.
And it's perfectly natural. Then you go to parallel time where Quentin and Maggie are married, but they're unhappily married. Uh, okay, they're supposed to be unhappy, but they're also supposed to be something we can root for. They overdid the unhappy. I think that's the big fault of it, because there's nothing left for us to root for there. Um, and Barnabas and Roxanne, there was no chemistry there.
Yeah, and I never liked the pairing of Barnabas and Roxanne. I never bought it. It's like,
No, I thought there was I thought there was one possibility with Barnabas and Roxanne. When I first saw Donna Wandry on the show, I thought, aha, I see what they're going to do. Because Donna Wandry, red hair,
mhm,
and the sort of chin shaped like that, she looks a
mhm,
little bit like Grayson Hall. Actually, it's a lot like Grayson Hall. She could be Grayson Hall's daughter.
mhm,
And maybe it'll turn out she's Hoffman's daughter. And they'll do something with that, where Barnabas falls in love with somebody, and it's not Julia, it's
mhm.
somebody who could be Julia's daughter and is the daughter of a different version of Julia. And
That
how
would have.
does, yeah, that would
Mhm,
be a really nasty thing to do to Julia, but it would be an interesting thing to see her react to that. And it's the sort of thing to do because he is so horrible, but which is why we love him so much. Uh, but yeah, that I thought that was where they were going, and they didn't go there, and instead it just didn't. And I guess some of the couples worked. I mean, Melanie and Kendrick worked. They were the strong part of the end. The
mhm,
and you know, uh, I could see some of the other couples. I mean, uh, Vicky and Burke, when it was Mitch Ryan, yes. But Anthony George was miscast as Burke because Burke had become Mitch Ryan. They were writing him as Mitch Ryan, and
yeah.
Anthony George was the opposite extreme in terms of his approach. Mitch Ryan, very hot actor, very much on the surface. Anthony George, a cold actor. You watch him because he doesn't give you much information. You just wonder what's going on in there. And when
Mhm,
he's allowed to do that, he's great. I've seen him, I mean, as Jeremiah Collins in the 1796, and then in other things I've seen him in. He is very, very good. Um, but he couldn't play Burke Devlin because he wasn't Mitch Ryan. He was the opposite of Mitch Ryan. And so having him and Vicky together, also, it didn't help that he was the world's worst kisser. Uh, I mean, when he was supposed to, when he and Vicky were supposed to kiss each other, you
mhm.
could see Alexandra Moltke-Isles sort of get her courage up and press her face to his and hope something good happened. Uh, and God bless her. Uh, but Vicky and Jeremiah could have been a good couple if they didn't have to kiss because he was a good character.
Mhm. Yeah, I thought he was, great as Jeremiah.
Oh
That
yeah,
that to me was a lot. I think that worked a lot better. With
mhm.
Jeremiah, not just because he's coming into this new character that we hadn't seen before. I have nothing
Yeah,
against
yeah,
it, but I think that just Jeremiah, the character itself, worked better with that.
yeah. With that manner, and also, I mean, I guess towards the end of his time as Burke, they were writing it so that he could play it, and it wasn't so bad. But there was really no point. There's really no reason for Burke to be on the show at that point. I mean, he
Mhm.
was a dashing action hero. What's a dashing action hero going to do? The main thing would be catch the vampire and destroy him, in which case you don't have a show anymore. So that's no good. Well, he's Vicky's boyfriend. Okay, well, why is Vicky on the show now? So he wants to marry Vicky. Okay, go do that. Fine. So he was kind of in a dead end as Burke, but yeah, as Jeremiah, I thought he was really good. And yeah.
Do you think Burke Devlin survived the plane crash?
Well, I do. I wish he did, because I'd like to see Mitch Ryan again.
Mhm.
Uh, I mean, I know in that, I guess it was the last time, it was that Zoom in 2020, I guess, uh, when Alexander Molka Isles was there and Mitch Ryan was there. And somebody asked, would you do a Big Finish audio drama with as Burke and Vicky? And they said, sure, because they're actors, they want work. Of course, that couldn't happen because he died so shortly after. But yeah, I mean, he was. I would love to see him again, but you
So, we don't know what the future lies for the character of Burke Devlin in this timeline, at least.
no,
But
no, oh, that's
what
interesting.
what the future of your blog would be going forward? Are you?
Yeah, my goal is to finish the series.
Mhm.
So that's April 2027. So I guess we're less than a year to go. Um, I am, a few weeks ahead in terms of blogging. As I mentioned before, I was sick recently, so I haven't written any, but we still are a couple of weeks ahead. So, have them scheduled to go live at 4 p.m. on Eastern time and all these times. So our goal is to get up to uh, April 2nd, 2027, with episode 1245. I do certainly want to do posts about the three theatrical movies,
Mhm.
House of Dark Shadows on the anniversary of its release date. Night of Dark Shadows, I don't think I'll wait till the anniversary. I think probably that'll be a post about that'll go up probably like a week after the post about episode 1245. And the Tim Burton movie, do a post about that at some point. Um, then I think probably also the 1991 series.
Mhm.
I never saw I haven't seen the 1991 series, but when I do see it, I'll probably have things to say about it. And the pilot, the 2004 pilot, stuff like that. Probably those, but certainly the three feature films. So the rest of those, excuse me. So certainly the rest of the episodes and the three feature films, and probably the 91 series, probably the 2004 pilot.
Yeah,
Uh,
to see what you think of the 91 series because I think there are some things in the series that just worked so well and that worked better than the original series, and there were
yeah,
some things not as much. And I think that, if you watch a series, you'll see what I mean and
yeah.
your take on
Well, I
that.
mean, B, I mean, I know very little about it because I read Danny Horn's blog posts about it. So I remember some of the screenshots. I remember that what's his name? Matt Zuckery, I think, is the actor who played Willie Loomis or somebody. I think the actor's name is Matt Zuckery. I remember that.
For the pilot, I think.
Oh, for the pilot. Okay, for the pilot. Yeah.
Yeah. In the
Okay.
91 series, that was Jim Five.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yes, it was. It was. I remember that. Okay. But Matt Zuckery, I remember a screenshot of him where
Mm.
he looked like a young Thayer David, a young, thin Thayer David. And that was kind of a revelation because, there's that story that, Alexandra Isles, after she divorced Adam Isles, was dating John Simon, uh, who told her that Thayer David, when they were at Harvard together, was the handsomest man at Harvard. And when I tell my wife that, she says those must have been rough days at Harvard. But you look at that picture, and he's perfectly handsome. You're like, okay, well, that could have been the handsomest man at Harvard. So I don't know. Maybe a few years later, if they had redone it, then or maybe now, it's just 2004. He could be Stokes. Because I mean, I imagine 22 years later, he probably looks like Thayer David did 22 years after he went to college.
Now, keeping in that vein, if you were to recast a new Dark Shadows, do you have any thoughts on who you'd like to see play the
Gee
roles?
whiz. Well, I really don't keep up with present day actors and so on. So, my niece, she's married to a Hollywood producer, and people asked us afterward, were there any movie stars at the wedding? And I said, probably. And because I wouldn't recognize them. But so not many come to mind of current present day people. And so, I try to think of my favorite actors in the present day, and I think, yeah, that person was most famous in a movie that was released in 1974. Oh, I guess that's not. So that I don't know. But the one name I've got is Matt Zuckery because he looks like Thayer David.
Okay. Well, on that note, I think I'm gonna let you go and rest up. And if you've got to take something for that cough, and
Yeah, I think I do.
yeah, and I'm coming down with something, so I better go
I hope
too.
I hope it's not what I had. So okay.
Hopefully,
Thanks very much. It's been a lot of fun.
you too,
Okay. Bye-bye.
Andy. Good talking to you.
Good to talk to you.
I don't understand, and it's raining again. It seems so dreary here without my man. An impossible task to bring him back from the past, but we must be reunited again. I don't understand. No, I don't understand. I thought when they said that Burke was dead, that simply couldn't be the end. Then I went back in time, I sound out of my mind, but it happened, love happened, and he can't be dead. I don't understand, and it's raining again. It seems so dreary here without my man. An impossible task to bring him back from the past, but we must be reunited again. I don't understand. No, I don't understand. Peter and Jeff are...
My name is Victoria Winters. Soon the sun will set on another day at ABC Studios, and a terrifying chain of events will be put into motion. On the old house in Collinwood sets, time is about to run out for 9 desperate actors. Unless a solution is found, their once promising careers will be destroyed by a director's arrogance, a technician's strike, and a mysterious black bra. This is their frightening story.
Look, DC, everything was perfectly clear when I wrote today's script, but you've rewritten and edited it so drastically, it doesn't even
Now
make sense anymore.
you look, Sam Hall. You might be one of my top writers, but just who is the director here?
You are, DC.
That's right. And you recall my rules? Rule number 1, the director is...
God.
I'm glad we understand one another. Now, scene 1. Bring out my big guns. Jonathan, Laura, places on the set.
Good luck, kids. You're gonna need it.
Okay, so in this scene, Barnabas has discovered that Angelique is the witch and will shoot her. Before she dies, she places a curse on him and a vampire bat bites him on the neck. Got it?
Oh, it sounds simple enough.
You want me to write the blood back when you shoot me, right?
That's right, Laura. Make it bloody. This isn't taking place. Now get ready. Action.
You were responsible for Josette's marriage to Jeremiah. You've ruined my life, you witch. Take that!
What was that? Sam!
I can't find anyone to run sound effects. I'm sorry, I lost my place on the tape.
Must be a technical strike. Either that or someone fired David Hazel and didn't notify me. Come on the wall, Sam! Place it again. Take it from the top.
Is the tape still running?
Of course it's still running. Say your line.
You were responsible for Joshua marrying Jeremiah. I mean, Josette marrying Jeremiah. You've ruined my life, you witch. Take that!
Ew! This is cold!
That's not your line. Keep going.
Barnabas, how could you? I'm dying! But I shall curse you, Barnabas Collins, with my dying breast. Everyone who loves you shall die, and you shall live for all eternity so you can watch them die. Yes. Die, die, die.
So die already.
Oh, okay, Lucy.
Ah, the witch is dead. But what of her curse? I said, what of her curse?
Sorry, DC. I can't find anyone from special effects.
Then you'll have to work the back, Sam. Get ready. Get ready for your cue.
But what about the union? I could get into trouble.
You'll be in more trouble if you don't start moving that pole around. Remember my rules. Rule number 2. The director is...
God. Gotcha. I'm as ready as I'll ever be.
Okay. Ding dong. The witch is dead. But what of her curse? This is a serious scene? It's just so silly. You try to keep a straight face with sand running around with a bat on a pole going, eep, beep, beep.
Terrified.
How can I be terrified of a stupid rubber bat? Its wings don't even flap.
Just think of what Dark Shadows will do for your career.
My career.
Wave the bat and make it look like it's going for your throat.
Ow, watch where you're stepping.
Hey, you're supposed to be dead.
You'll both be dead if you ruin this tape. Keep going.
Oh, Angeline!
Sam, grab the pole, make the bat fly away. Make the bat fly away. And cut. That was beautiful.
Beautiful! You mean you're going to use that tape?
Videotape is expensive. Don't worry, I'll edit around the rocky parts. Next scene. Grayson, Miss Bennett, places.
DC, weren't we supposed to be just in 1795?
Let me check the script. That last scene was a brief flashback to 1795. We're back now in modern day. Now I want total concentration. Miss Bennett, can we take it from your line?
I don't care what you test show. I know I shall be dead soon. And worse yet, I shall be buried.
DC, that line doesn't make any sense.
Dead people are always buried.
Not always. Look at Larry King. Besides, the line is supposed to read, I shall be buried alive.
The last word on the teleprompter is hidden behind Thayer's lunch basket. I couldn't see it.
Thayer, move your lunch!
Is it my scene already?
No, I want you to move your lunch from in front of the teleprompter. Miss Bennett can't read her lines.
Sorry, Joan. I might as well start lunch at this rate we're going.
Now, Miss Bennett, give your line again. Grayson, keep going even if she blows it.
I do not blow lines. It's your fault for not filming the way we do in Hollywood. George Cukor have remakes. Worse yet, I will be buried alive.
Now, I know that premature burial is a common fear, Miss Collins and Irene's daughter, but you let your fears run away with you. You're in perfect health and should lead a long and healthy life. You're here.
I shan't sleep. I know it. I could die in my sleep, and then you'll bury me alive. Julia, I will only look dead. Promise me you won't bury me alive.
I've made every test, but you must sleep. Here, I'll prepare a sedative.
Will it give me dreams?
DC, I think it's the wrong sedative.
Keep going, keep going. Sam, get her in a close-up. Keep going, Miss Bennett.
I have such terrible nightmares.
I will give you a sedative to help you sleep.
Whose is that?
Not mine.
Let's cue dream music. Dream music. We need dream music.
But I can't run the close-up camera and do sound at the same time.
Improvise. Hum it.
Okay. Dum 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 dum.
I feel so sleepy.
Cut. Ladies, that was great. Good work, Sam.
Great. DC, I was a woman asleep with a double D cup.
Can we do it again with the right props?
Nonsense. The scene was fine. Next scene, we'll edit around it. Next scene, Jonathan and Nancy.
Again with the right props?
Nonsense. The scene was fine. Next scene, we'll edit around it. Next scene, Jonathan and Nancy. Somebody's got a lot of editing. Okay, so in this scene, we're going for a simple bite. Carolyn has been snooping around the old house, and Barnabas has to bite her to gain control over her. Jonathan, do you have your fangs ready?
I have them right here.
Good. And I want a big wind-up before your bite.
But it looks so silly. Couldn't I do something a little more subtle, perhaps a little more seductive?
The fans, this is daytime television. The fans don't understand subtle. This is rape, not romance. Now let's see your wind-up.
Oh, very well.
Emily, you almost snagged my hair.
Now I want it bigger, Jonathan. More! I want it bigger! Perfect! Do it just like that. Now, places again. Take it from your line about Carolyn trespassing.
Trespassing. Where's the teleprompter? Oh. I was told that I could live in the old house independently. Yet you feel free to trespass anytime you wish.
Cousin Barabbas,
It's Barnabas.
Keep going, Nancy.
Cousin Barnabas, I knocked and I called out for you, but nobody answered.
So you feel free to explore my house when nobody's home? Didn't Willie tell you not to come here during the daytime hours?
Is that my cue?
No, not until she gets bitten. Carolyn screams and then Willie runs in to save her.
Nobody home. Willie. Oh, if I listened to Willie, I would never come and visit you. He seems determined to keep everyone away.
Is that my cue?
No. Wait, not until she gets bitten. Carolyn screams and then Willie runs in to save her.
Is that my cue, DC?
I promise I won't trespass anyone, Barnabas. And I won't tell anyone about the basket, about the casket, about the coffin in the cellar. I saw nothing. I know nothing.
You're right, you will tell. I mean, you won't tell. I will tell. No, I won't tell. No one will ever know.
Is that my cue? Was that a scream?
Oh, it sure was.
Oh, fudge!
Stop the tape!
Did I say the F word again?
Wait, fudge is the F word? I thought it was.
Never mind! Jonathan, watch the language. We have enough church groups on our back. Start tape. Nancy screams. Not now when I say action. Jonathan, get on her neck. John, I want you to break them up. Places, action.
Oh, now? Oh.
Take her away!
Come on, Carolyn. I'll take you home.
And cut. Wonderful.
Wonderful! I think I've skinned both my knees. I think my miniskirt pulled up. Oh, were my panties on camera?
You're wearing panties? You didn't in House of Dark Shadows.
Well, your panties may not have made it on camera, but your bra certainly did.
That isn't mine. I don't wear bras. I black bras.
We have more scenes to shoot and time is money. Clear the set. Remember, no one gets out of costume until the day's shoot is over. Oh, and while we're at it, one more thing. Rule number 3.
The director is God. Hey, I think my fly was open that tight scene.
Clear the set. Next scene. Well, where's my reading desk? Oh, they were optional today. Sam, where's the next scene?
DC, come on. You have me doing sound, lighting, special effects, and camera work. I told you this morning I was still doing revision work on scene 4.
You're telling me scene 4 isn't ready? That was skipping entirely. I have a deadline to meet. Jonathan. Clear the set for scene 5. Oh, no. We have a skipping entirely. Lewis, Miss Bennett, Grayson. You Bella, I'm calling you here to tell you that we're cutting scene 4 today. We'll edit into a later episode.
But DC, that was my big scene as Roger.
And that was my big scene, my dream sequence about the premature burial.
Oh, it probably would have been a nightmare about a black bra anyway.
Doesn't matter what it was, today the scene is cut. Clear the set for scene 5.
Then I trust we're through for the day.
Stay in costume until everyone is through.
What a day.
Yes. Sam. You got a handkerchief? Doing a great job. Places for scene 5. Hubbard, Laura. Okay, Hubbard, this is the scene where Nicholas Blair confronts Angelique about her victimization of Barnabas. Her vampire attacks on him are affecting Adam, and Nicholas wants them stopped. After Nicholas leaves, Angelique attempts to get him called back to hell. Any questions?
There's no incantation in my script. There's an entire section that's crossed out in red pencil.
Well, that would have been me. Sam's incantation was too florid. I want realism, so I want you to improvise your incantation, Laura.
Perhaps you can remember the incantation from another episode of Paraphrase.
That was months ago.
I'll show you old camera. Just think evil and enjoy it.
Okay, time is money, people. Okay. Places again. Humbert, your line.
Your infatuation with Barnabas Collins is interfering with my plans. I would kill him myself if his death would not affect Adam. But since they are linked, I must insist that you leave Barnabas Collins alone.
And who are you to command me?
I am your master.
Okay, that was good, Nicholas. Now, Humbert, now I want you to say that same line again, only this time make her kneel before you.
Isn't that a bit much?
Do it!
I am your master. Kneel before me.
No, the other way, towards the other camera. We have enough church groups on our back.
I am your master. Kneel before me.
You may be my master now, Nicholas Blair, but you won't be my master forever. And I will never forget this moment.
Excellent. I want you to remember my dear Angelique. For no matter what, I shall never bend my knee to you.
You may never need to to kneel to me, Nicholas Blair. And you won't have to as long as I get to watch you rot in hell.
Welcome to the Collinsport Record Shop. I'm Catherine, and I make music. When I'm not recording with Song Telephone, I put out music under Discount Artificial Sweetener. My favorite TV show is Dark Shadows, and I'm sharing my love for the residents of Collinsport, Maine, with several albums dedicated to their stories. Blue Whale B-Sides, an EP of 4 songs I can imagine being played at the Blue Whale. Bubblegum cards and pinups. In part inspired by Alan Gallant's Collinsport After Dark. This song is an ode to the teen magazines and groovy merchandise featuring our favorites from Dark Shadows.
Bubblegum cards and pin-ups help fuel my secret dreams. Everyone at school just thinks it's cool to read all the teen magazines, but for me, it's special.
Warlock Love. Maggie Evans is under the spell of Collinsport's favorite satanic warlock, Nicholas Blair. Use those magic hands, magic man.
Use those magic hands, magic man. You've got a special power no one understands. Well, perhaps one, this one does, and wants more of your warlock love.
Carolyn a Go-Go. Just another night at the Blue Whale. Mind if I cut in, Joe? Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm gonna give bartender Bob a hand. Blue Whale B-Sides by Discount Artificial Sweetener. Streaming everywhere now.
See if I can bring back what I had before. Back when I had humanity, I had a soul. If I have you, then I'll feel whole. If I have you, then I'm in control. Even when you're alone, you must obey my will. I feel your pulse beat every time that I bend your will to mine. Though there's fear there in your eyes, you simply can't deny.
I can never be she. How can I be? I'm only me, Maggie. I don't understand what you want from me. How can I become someone I don't know? When I see the look in your eyes, I understand you loved her so. Can't you understand that she is not me? I know I must look like her, but looks are deceiving. I've never been anyone else but myself. Maggie, I'm Maggie, I'm Maggie. No matter what you do to me, I'm Maggie. I'll never mistake love for your cruelty. If this is how you loved her, no wonder she's dead.
Don't try me, don't define me. I don't want to hurt you, Willie, but I must if you don't obey me. Hear me well, follow my commands. You can never tell any one of my plans. Forget the girl, she's mine, I say she's mine. She must be after all, if not she must die. If only we could get through that door. If we could run, if we could run, would we ever truly be free? Could you see past all
that great, cousins? I wanted to take a minute to say something. I'm not sure how long this podcast will continue. It may only go until, say, August or September or so after the Dark Shadows event. It's kind of hard for me to do this podcast all by myself, and unfortunately I don't have a lot of submissions for the Family Fanfare segment. So if you've got a Dark Shadows fan video that you'd like to submit, I mean, if you cosplay, if you do folk songs, fan art that you'd like to share about Dark Shadows characters, please send it in to collinsportgirl@gmail.com and let me know how you want to be credited, and I will happily put it on this podcast. Thanks. The Back Room at the Blue Whale is a Dark Shadows podcast.